Hi. Hello, everyone, guys. Today, I have brought you another really special guest, Albert. Many of you might already know him, some maybe not. And in the meantime, Albi, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. And I'll let you take the floor for the introductions. Then I will ask you a few things. We will talk about a few things related, of course, to self-publishing, certainly.
So, thank you very much, Richard, for the invitation. Yes, some people might know me for the account block stories. That's all. I am Albert. Until a month ago, I was a civil engineer and only dealt with self-publishing in my spare time. I have always had, let's say, mediocre results. More or less, I was at 3.5K gross per month, 2.5K net. In my experience, I had started with other self-publishing courses from various other trainers. However, I saw that I was always stuck with these stagnant results. I knew a bit about how Joseph worked in the course, and Richard, thanks to their results and a bit about the reputation they had. So I said, let's try to embark on this new adventure. Right away, in the course, I was struck by the very direct, straightforward approach without beating around the bush. From there, I started to have a more open view of self-publishing. Right in the first call with Richard, we had laid out a publishing plan for the books to be published in the coming months. They were all books in niches I had never explored before. And they helped me a lot because literally, let's say after just a month, the business started to grow more and more. Now I am officially unemployed and live solely off self-publishing. A month ago, I moved to Dubai, so I have completely changed everything.
Let's say it's a very significant change. Did you expect it to happen so quickly when you joined my course? A few months ago, I think, 5 to 6 months ago, more or less, you were making 2.5K net, and now you have a different type of income, which you can tell us about if you feel like it. And you also took the step of moving to Dubai, where obviously you need much more than 2.5K net. So did you expect this change to happen so quickly and to be so significant?
So I always knew I was in the wrong place, even in terms of earnings, because my job literally took up my entire day. I used to work many days, even until late in the evening. So then gradually seeing the results and the different approach, little by little, I managed to dive more and more into this new challenge, and the results really surprised me. Also, the speed at which they were achieved. Because this approach, without overthinking and being more direct, really helped everything. So let's say, go with me hobby, yes, and also even in the past, I had various problems with accounts or all the classic issues of self-publishing. Having had them before, all that experience, I had it. I was missing this new vision of scaling. And that also helped because then all the problems that might arise from inexperience were, let's say, already solved. It was just this part of scaling the business and transitioning, let's say, from something that is a hobby to something that is a 100% activity.
Before, you had a foundation, but couldn't achieve what you wanted. You hadn't yet made that necessary click, which, thanks to me and thanks to us, you did. And in just a few months, you were saying that you reached the results.
Yes. So I went from those 3.5K, I even reached over 20K now. I'm at around 15,000.
With a net income, Albi,
the net is around 60, 70%. Then it depends on the month. Obviously, everything happened quickly, so now we're trying to stabilize it, but more or less, we make around 15 gross, about 10 net.
Now, I don't want to ask you how much you were earning before with surfing.
Still less than what I used to do with surfing in my free time.
And this thing is really crazy for me. Every time I am so impressed, apart from being obviously very happy to have been of help, but even more so, let's say, about the financial goals, leaving then 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. Because then let's say once someone becomes aware, that is, creates within themselves the awareness that they can achieve results, that they can make money, that they have the ability to create wealth, then they are just numbers, 10, 15, 20, 30. You can easily reach them. The important thing is to make that initial click and then earn your freedom. That's where the real difference lies. There's the possibility.
Yes, absolutely. But even if someone has a lifestyle where 1,000 is enough to live on, having that 1,000 without all the constraints that come with a regular job, obviously is a different story.
This is really, let's say, fundamental. For example, I know that Albi likes to surf. Now, he still has the freedom to do it. Even if it were for the same amount of money, he has the freedom to organize his day, the freedom to live wherever he wants, and not be geolocated. So let's say this, if he had the same income as he did from his job, considering that now he has, I think, 10-folded it, this obviously opens up scenarios for other things as well, such as a better lifestyle, other business ideas, and so on. Now, Albi, without digressing too much on the topics of having a fixed job or not, let's get a bit more specific for those who are following us. As you mentioned, you came from different educational backgrounds. You had achieved those results, which were not what you desired, and you had a breakthrough thanks to us. So, what I wanted to ask you is, specifically, what actually helped you? There were different skills, different work methodologies, different strategies. So, what difference did you find between your previous training and the one you did with us?
So, the thing that really made me click was going sniper style, meaning identifying topics, keywords, or publication areas that truly have great potential behind them, and not drifting further away from the classic parameters that remained in the business in any way. Anyway, there was also the aspect related to work. But when you really manage to detach yourself and stop seeing the course as just a set of rules, but rather as principles that you then rework, you truly make a breakthrough and start thinking about how everything works.
A first step was, let's start from the basics, which was precisely keyword research, and more importantly, the evaluation and interpretation of the keyword, meaning to understand and make a real plan based on numbers and not just on generic parameters, because I bet that before you didn't really know where you were getting into publishing on keywords, looking only at parameters without having a proper strategy, a vision. You were a bit all over the place. You couldn't make proper calculations, a planning like the one we did in Poly.
Yes, it is precisely this precise, almost engineering-like approach that gives an estimate that if I put in X, I get Y, making everything more calculable. Therefore, everything was much more thought out, unless we say it was quite associated with luck. One knows that with that word, you can achieve result X. But knowing that if I do A, B, C, I get X, Y, Z has always been missing for me. So having this entire entrepreneurial vision made me understand everything. Then even once we had made the editorial plan that we had thought of, now automatically I know, for example, if I want to earn X, what I need. I need, for example, these 3 books. I have to search for the keywords and everything. It's about going backwards from the goal to the basics needed, to the ingredients to achieve it.
Yes, and precisely because people make this mistake, they think that an online business has different principles compared to a physical business. But since it is a business, you need to look at the numbers, right? So you need to make a business plan. It's a planning process. That is, you really need to analyze what you are doing, right? I often use the example. Let's imagine that the keyword is a location, where we can open our own bar, because maybe people coming from a traditional background can understand better with these examples, right? If I don't really have analytical skills, I can't conduct a market study to determine whether it's better to open a bar in Piazza Duomo in Milan or in the outskirts, in the worst outskirts of Milan. Yes, you're still opening a bar. The parameters might be just that it's 100 square meters, right? Because you need to understand how much you can actually earn. It's not the same thing. And so I see people telling me, oh yes, parameters, 5 keywords under 100,000, 6 keywords under 100,000. They even think that the more keywords are under 100,000, the better. I mean, really. Guys, we're absolutely not there yet. So let's say this is something that has helped Albert a lot. Then there are other things, let's say at a strategic level, that you changed, I don't know, maybe how you made the covers, ad strategy, how you managed, organized the work. Did you see any differences? Find any differences that helped you in these aspects?
Yes, so it helped me. I mean, in general, it also helped me understand exactly, as you were saying, for example, by connecting, you told me 100 square meters for the place. Also about how to make the book, how big it needs to be, and not to do something excessive that isn't even required. All this excessive work, not just on the size of the book, but on every aspect of the book, whether it's the cover or something else, often goes unrewarded. Especially in the initial period, a person needs to generate cash. So they must try to limit expenses and bring a product to the market that is interesting for the customer, but doesn't give them too much when it's not necessary. Then there are cases where it is necessary and valid to bring a lot, because there is a lot of competition. However, to start everything and gain experience, you need to do what is necessary. I would say almost the bare minimum, and then gradually grow and scale everything else.
Here we would need to open an endless parenthesis. The point is exactly this. We must not forget what kind of business we are doing. With Veragome Albi, we are selling books on topics that are, we can say, mostly frivolous, such as cookbooks or cross-stitching, and these are books that are mainly bought on impulse. We sell in the American market where they have incredibly high credit card limits. They buy cars with credit cards, and so obviously we must not deviate from business logic. We need to think about what we are going to do, obviously creating a product, as Albert says, with the bare minimum. Okay. So all this talk about quality, the quality of what to make a cookbook with 100 recipes, what quality could these recipes ever have? Obviously, the optimization of our work, they must have the right parameters. They must be well written, but we don't have to go beyond the established logic, right? So another topic here that opens up the discussion of optimization, always related to business, since business, as we said before, is a numbers game. We need to run a business to understand how much we can earn, but obviously, as entrepreneurs, we need to get the most by investing the least. So in terms of budget optimization, Liv, how did you find working with us? Did you make any changes compared to what you were doing before?
Regarding budget in general, I have always been very frugal, meaning that I already had prices almost lower than the average ones you give. So costs have never been a problem for me. More than anything, for me, it was about identifying the topics and better understanding where the potential was. That's true, but in terms of costs, it hasn't changed much for me. However, I've heard that it has changed a lot for many others who were used to it. For this reason, I have always done what I could, where possible. I developed the skills myself at the beginning, even without having money to invest. Not with you, but even before, I used to make the cover myself and format things on my own. Then, surely, the deeper you go, the goal is always to build a team with which you can negotiate better prices without losing the necessary quality to enter the market and surpass the competitors.
Earlier, you mentioned something, still using the example of 100 square meters, where you talked about the actual size, which is needed to publish our books. And this is also always related to the numbers discussion, because if the size is right, the royalty will be different. What we can spend on ads will be different, and the time it will take us to recoup our investments will be different. These are calculations that no one does. They make a cookbook for 1,000, where they earn $2, so they can spend $1 on ads. And with $1 at a time, they want to recoup perhaps an investment in a cookbook made with various services. So a cover costing hundreds of euros, a book costing thousands of euros, and with $1 at a time, they want to break even. Obviously, if you do the math, it might take you a year, which isn't a smart business move. So this was just a note regarding the size of the book. Then tell us, Albi, are there other things that helped you, other insights?
Overall, I liked the course over time. Not just the lessons, but also the presence of the weekly live sessions, which are a meeting point to discuss with one of you how the market is doing, how the business is going, a moment to keep us all updated, because at least everyone might know that news or something else that could be helpful for everyone. And so by contributing their own part, everyone manages to stay updated on all these things.
I'll explain it quickly, Albi, because there might be someone who doesn't know us well. Besides the course, we obviously offer a weekly live session, which is free of charge because it's part of the program. These interactive sessions have been held every week since the course was launched. So it's not like we're live and the person asks questions below. No, we do live Zoom sessions with many participants. The last one had over 50, 60 participants, all active publishers. Publishers who earn like Albert, some less, some much more. And obviously we discuss various situations, as Albi says. So maybe one person has a certain piece of news because they tested something new. Another person noticed a problem and then looks for a solution there. Someone can help them. So it's this mastermind, I would say, of publishers who update each other every week. Moreover, let's say it's not just a meeting where audiences get updates, but rather interactive lessons. For example, as soon as Joseph and I test new strategies, like now we have come up with a new strategy regarding Amazon ads, both for launching and optimizing. As soon as we test it, we are obviously confident about the results that we test. We bring it to the community with interactive lessons. I don't make a video lesson in the course and then leave you to figure it out on your own. Whether you understand it or not, it doesn't matter. No, these are interactive lessons where I conduct the class, and in real time, students can ask questions, they can inquire. And so obviously the learning becomes much faster, and the updates, right, Albi? So every Monday, we say, there's a new one that comes up in the end.
Yes, because it can be useful since self-publishing can become quite passive. And at least one might say, okay, I won't look at it for a while. But then they actually lose everything. So even just having that update lets you get in for a moment. It gives you feedback that helps to then do a check to optimize something. So everything becomes more stable and lasting.
And this is exactly why I always say, guys, you need to be guided by people who are fully immersed in self-publishing, who earn from publishing, because a person can achieve results 1 year before, 2 years before, 3 years before. But if they are not on top of things, they will inevitably miss all those nuances that only someone who is there, who publishes, who works hard, who lives off this can know. And so this is really the true benefit of being guided by someone who is truly on top of things. What do you think, Albert? Do you agree?
Yes, but I agree. I mean, let's say the continuous updating, I agree. Continuous updating is very useful. I believe that especially for those who do it full time. It is even more valuable because talking to people who do it all the time, almost exclusively, there is a different perspective compared to those who maybe do it in their spare time. I also put in effort when maybe it wasn't my main source of time. Obviously, I had a different perspective. And then other things about the course. Yes, I mean, also going, I mean, really, besides. So let's say to set it up, think about the words, and then also understand well the hats, how they are connected to the book and all the associated parameters. In fact, I particularly appreciated this area of the course that Joseph did, which provided various perspectives. And then the course itself was launched in May, I think, or April, I don't remember. However, that one has also had various updates thanks to the live sessions. So something changes every time, both because of how the market itself is going and because there might be phases, like now during the high season, where the parameters are unusual and we need to understand how to interpret them.
Absolutely. And indeed, as Albi says, it is a purpose that has already been updated and re-updated, and it is constantly updated every week with the live sessions, because it is obvious that, especially being an online business, things move very quickly, and therefore there are inevitably changes. Then there are specific periods. For example, there are people who might have less experience and do not know that in periods like this, ad evaluations change completely because there are a whole series of factors that influence them. I remember myself in the first year when I started, I didn't know these things and I paid for them out of my own pocket, because obviously mistakes are paid for with money in this game. And regarding the ads module, the problem I see a lot, I don't know if you agree with me, is that unfortunately people stop at looking at things in a sectorial manner. They think they have an ad problem, when in reality the ads are communicating different things to them, and everything is really connected by a thin thread, starting from keyword research to formatting to ads to the cover. It's all very connected, which is what I was referring to earlier, Albi.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, basically, the problem is always the book. If someone has a good book, the ads run by themselves. You almost don't need to touch them. The adjustment of ads is almost always due to a problem in the book.
There are a whole series of factors, especially initially, that are fundamental to keep in check, because obviously the game has changed recently. Now it's not so straightforward to start selling with a book. You have to take into account a whole series of factors and apply a proper launch strategy. Otherwise, it's not so simple to get to the first page and start selling. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is that I see a lot of people writing to me. I don't know if it happens to you too, asking for advice, and they seem very, very confused, because overall it's a difficult business. I see a lot of complexity, even in the basic things. For example, the analysis of the buyer persona, or the book brief, or the Corvette brief, an absurd complexity that people have in mind, which I have my own theory about. I believe it is instilled to then address this complexity with the sale of products or services, and thus people end up delegating the responsibility because they do not feel capable of facing the situation. You, regarding this, what do you think? How do you see it? Does it seem like a simple business to you? Do you think people might have a bit too much confusion in their minds around and see perhaps excessive complexity, or that there are methodologies to streamline the entire process and be more effective?
Yes. Well, I mean, first of all, it's about instilling, let's say, doubts and fears. I believe that thing arises in many precisely because they do not achieve results. So seeing the results from others, they start to think they are doing something wrong or missing something. And they begin to search for the golden nugget or the secret they don't know.
But the problem is that they look for it in others. Let's say they delegate the responsibility of their own business.
In fact, in that case, it is always the fault of the person who publishes things. So even if you made the cover, your brother wrote the book, or something else, in all cases, the responsibility is yours. And you will always find someone who says that it is worth more or something else. But in everything, whether it be services or even freelance work on Fiverr or Upwork, you will always find someone who charges you even €1,000 for a cover. However, you need to understand that this is not what you need at that moment. Certainly, everyone plays their own game to bring things forward. So you need to see what you need at that moment. Always considering how much you can expose yourself to ensure that your goal is to spend as little as possible to make a profit. Always keeping in mind that we need to try to do something lasting. Then obviously, we don't create masterpieces, but gradually with growth, one should always aim for something that grows over time, or at least remains stable.
When I say this, I am referring to any product, any freelancer service, or otherwise. Why do I say this? Because the point, let's say, the aspect I was most interested in highlighting was the delegation of responsibility, meaning I find it complex, this thing. This freelancer gives me the solution for X. Even if it costs a lot, I do it because I don't want to get involved. So, first of all, it's wrong because tomorrow freelancer X disappears, goes on vacation for 2 months. You knew. Why? Because you need to have the ability and understanding of what you are doing in order to channel your expertise through a freelancer who simply takes work off your hands, or a cover company or a writing company that does what you need. What I don't like is seeing people delegating responsibility. You told me this freelancer or knows how to do the job better than anyone else. €200. Well, these covers are made specifically for publishers, but obviously that's not true. So their business is to sell the cover at the highest possible price and maximize their profit as much as possible. And so what I wanted to make clear, as you were saying, is that it's the fault of the one who publishes. That is, you need to have the right approach of knowing what you are going to do and personally taking action, making mistakes or not, Albie, because we have all made mistakes.
No, absolutely. In fact, in my opinion, the concept is exactly as you say, taking responsibility. And in my view, it's good to overestimate oneself because everyone needs to make their own profit, their own utility. So it's up to the person to wake up and say, no, this isn't it. So if you, let's say, have a shoot at home, you have a budget of €1,000 and you allocate it poorly, it's your fault. They do very well. If someone tells you they will write 3 words for you and asks for €1,000 and you give it to them, they have done an excellent job.
Now, in fact, I completely agree with you. And I think that those who do this, sell high-priced services, do very well, are very intelligent, and obviously make profits. What I want to invite people to consider is, at least then you can also use the real services if you find them suitable, but to actually understand, not to delegate, not to take the service that costs X because they do it for me, and I am at peace. I know exactly what I need to do beforehand, let's say, through experience or training that enables me to do it.
And it is also necessary to develop skills to evaluate what you receive, in the sense that it is true that maybe if we delegate a cover, not everyone knows how to use Photoshop, for example. But having basic knowledge so that if there is an urgent need to modify something, you can do it yourself or understand what needs to be modified or other things, that is fundamental, because otherwise you delegate, but you don't even know if it is right or not.
Here, I would go even further back and take a step earlier, meaning you really need to understand what to commission and on what basis to commission it. For example, here, I would get into the topic of covers. There's a lot of confusion about these covers, but no one actually knows how to create them. and find a practical scheme like the one we see in our course on how to make them. I mean, it all seems a bit vague to me. Differentiate yourself. Yes, but how? Because if everyone is white and I go black, I don't differentiate myself in a positive way. It's not just about differentiating. Or the cover is beautiful, my cover is beautiful because it's mine. Your cover can be the most beautiful in the world, apart from the fact that beauty is always subjective. So it's something that doesn't hold water, as I often hear. But you really need to understand whether this cover converts or not. And there are parameters to understand what is converting and what to create to make it convert, not just a beautiful cover. So the point I wanted to make is this: you need to have the competence to truly understand what needs to be done and then delegate it to whoever you think is best. If someone hires a freelancer and pays them $20 or wants, to go to a company and spend $500, that's fine. But the result, the output, is determined by the input. The input must come from the publisher, and they need to understand what kind of input to give in order to achieve the desired result.
According to the agreement, you really have to think of it as if in the calculation of 10, you write 2 plus 3. You told him that you have to do 2 plus 3. You shouldn't think that he will make any changes. So the clearer and more objective what you provide is, the more you can expect. Even now, with the use of artificial intelligence, they say the better you describe, the more you get a result similar to what you do. So the goal is to be very precise, both because you already know what you want and you don't hope that he will perform a miracle and make up for what you don't do, and because you won't waste time later refining and asking for corrections, which means lost time equals lost money and opportunities.
A miracle can happen once in a while, but it doesn't create sustainability. Because if Albi makes the cover for me and performs a miracle, okay, that book will sell. Then Albi can no longer make the cover. What do I do? Or simply Albi got the cover right, and the next cover is done randomly without following real parameters, because Albi is not a publisher, not a graphic designer.
And then it's not scalable. If I want to step away from the business and delegate it to an assistant or someone else, this person needs to have enough guidelines to not make mistakes. Then they must not be too restrictive, but they need to understand that there are mistakes that can cause everything to collapse. Even in the book, just collecting something wrong can cause the entire project around it to collapse, especially if it is a seasonal or even short-term thing, and that mistake pays off.
So, Albi, I wanted to ask if we could maybe do an overview of the course. Can you tell me which lessons impressed you the most and why? Let's make a couple of considerations.
So I'll share it here. See?
Yes.
Okay, good. I started the course. The lessons that struck me the most were definitely about avoiding waste. So as we talked about before, understanding what we need, not overthinking it, getting what we need, and then gradually giving back to the book what we have earned, but not trying right away to create a gem that maybe isn't needed and that no one wants at that level. You can wait, let's see, maybe, yes, these are the forms. I remember there was a lesson called, okay, this one, Operation Lazarus Get Up and Sell, which was about understanding even the projects that went wrong due to inexperience, mistakes, or other reasons, what to evaluate. That is useful both for these projects that are not performing well, and also perhaps for books that are doing well, but are not, let's say, the best result for that keyword in order to further refine and try to expand your market reach.
So let's say this module here, in my opinion, is really gold, because there are so many people who tell me, no, Ricardo, I have made 10 books, 15 books, 20 books, 30 books. I'm not selling, I'm not earning. And now I'm looking for new keywords to launch. other books. But I say, excuse me, but before you go and launch new books, apart from the fact that there's a gold mine at home, because 30 books really, you potentially have a business worth 30K per month already there. You simply need to understand what you did wrong, what feedback the market is giving you, why these books are not selling, and go fix them. Once you understand the mistakes and have reaped the gains from the investments and time previously dedicated, then you can think about making new publications. So in this module, it deals precisely with this. That is, okay, my book is dead. Perfect. Are there other publishers selling on this keyword? Yes. What do they have that I don't? Nothing. They have 2 legs, 2 arms, 1 head. So there is an actual reason. And it's not because Amazon has it in for you. And it's not because he is luckier and you are unlucky for why our book didn't come. So there are all these parameters to analyze, a whole series of variables to analyze and change, even here. Mathematically, no. Mathematics teaches us that we change one variable at a time. Otherwise, we don't understand where the error is. To take these books from being stagnant, from being wasted money, to generating earnings every month. So this is truly a very important module. Or, as Albi used to say, I already have a book that sells well, but isn't the best. What variables do I need to analyze to become the top of the keyword, to capture the entire market? So let's say this is really a very important module, in my opinion, for those who are already self-publishing and not getting results.
And then there was a lesson, but I don't remember which one it was, that was called, you want money, not applause.
Master Model said.
Which?
He is Habits, Module 14. You think so? No, maybe it's a publishing strategy at Z.
Maybe yes. Here it is. It really makes you understand that it was quite related to what we were saying before. First, not to overdo something. And second, that we are not interested in also having, it doesn't make sense to have an opinion, because if our goal is to have a cover that our friends say is nice, that we think is nice, that's one thing. But if we are here, it's because we want to do self-publishing, so to earn money. And therefore, we must only provide what the market is looking for, even if we don't like it. And the best, let's say, way to see if people like it is by how much the book earns. So the market is always right, not our own mind.
Nothing is always right.
And so these are the ones that, let's say, definitely struck me the most, and that I believe could be very interesting, even to watch multiple times to understand. Even as one grows over time, I, for example, find value in revisiting the same things with a different mindset compared to when I saw them for the first time.
Because the lesson remains the same, but you change, and so you see it with different eyes. So if you watch the lesson 10 times over a span of 2 years, each time with different experiences, it might be that on the 10th time you have an aha moment and say, now I understand this aspect too. Maybe this is what was meant. Or it gives you a different line of reasoning, so you make connections based on what you are seeing and your experience, which lead you to achieve significant results.
Yes, absolutely.
Are these the lessons that impacted you the most?
Yes, absolutely. Well, there are several. The last time I saw it was probably in June, still the course, but there are really many from which you can draw a lot of inspiration.
Regarding the course itself, Albi, what did you think? Straightforward, fluid, worth studying?
I should mention that I obviously already had solid knowledge of self-publishing. It helped me a lot that it was direct and had a very goal-oriented approach, aiming to maximize profit. For me, I had already moved past the phase of not making money to making money. What was missing was turning it into a top self-publishing business with earnings that allowed for complete independence. So this very direct approach, also certainly helped by the fact that I knew you had achieved high results, gave me the confidence, and I kept pushing myself to understand how to maximize everything else. There will always be ups and downs in everything, but once a person manages to achieve certain goals, even just once, it creates the idea in their mind that they can replicate it and improve it. Just as I went from 3 to 30 like that, one knows that they can still continue to increase everything. You know you have the potential to do it. Surely, the greatest value of all is understanding that you can do it and going on to create objective foundations, not just tied to hope, to achieve your goals.
Stop sharing for a moment, Albi, so we can get back to the maxis. Regarding this, absolutely yes. In fact, I am sure that you will always continue to grow in terms of results. I hope that you will surpass even the results you have achieved, because for me, that would be the greatest satisfaction. As you were saying, the point is precisely awareness. Once I understand, the important thing is to achieve the result. That is, our focus is on profit, because the important thing is to achieve the result and see that you have earned. So you say, okay, perfect. I know how to do it. I know how to earn it. I've done 5. I can do 15. I can do 20. And this effort has been worth it for the person. I've done 5 before. Then I did 10, 15, 30 to reach 65 in a month. So it's just a matter of awareness. And then you can go higher and higher. You can start new business models. I mean, the world is full of money. It's a constant flow that keeps circulating, being exchanged for products or services. And so there's really no limit to what you can do, right? I was granted anyway that, I mean, to live life really well, you don't need, huge amounts of money. I mean, once you have the ability to generate 20, 30,000 euros or 40,000 euros net per month, you really don't lack anything anymore, especially because you come from a normal life context where you went to work like Albi probably did for 1,500 euros a month. Then, of course, one might have the ambition to travel by private jet, and that's another story, but earning these amounts can truly change one's life. So awareness is indeed important. And as Albi said, the point is profit. I have a course that is very profit-oriented because, let's be clear, anyone who starts any type of business in 99% of cases doesn't do it for the business itself or for the mission, like the mission Elon Musk might have. I mean, it's done for the money. So we might as well talk about how to make money, how to make as much as possible, and how to make it as quickly as possible. I mean, it's pointless. Objectively, no publisher, no matter how proud they are of their work, cares about having made a nice book with a nice cover. No, you only care about how much money that book brings you. So if you put the ugliest photo you can find on the internet on the cover because it brings you money, you don't care.
Do you agree with me, Albi? Yes, that is definitely the initial goal. Then, once, in my opinion, you reach and say, I can get to 10,000, for example, then maybe other things can come into play. But in my opinion, at the beginning, everyone, as you say, wants to see the result, to maybe say that they are in a situation of earning 1,000 a month, and it's really to prove it to themselves, to others, for any reason. That is the first objective. Then maybe they become passionate about it and they want to associate it with their own persona. In that case, it might involve something more. However, at the beginning, I agree that it is mainly about achieving an economic goal.
Of course, it's different if you are someone who is already well known in a certain field and you want to create books for positioning to build a fan base. For example, I could write a book on how to make money with Amazon. In that case, I would indeed write a perfectly crafted book with 2,000 proofs, a cover photo taken by the best photographer, and the best possible cover design. But that's a different game. We are doing something else here. Here, we are making money by publishing books on frivolous topics that are bought on impulse. That's it here. We need to make money. So quality, 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 spending 3,000 euros to make a book is not necessary. You need to understand what the client wants, how to give it to them while spending the minimum, and that's it. Answering this question consequently rebalances the money.
Yes, I agree. Now, yes, that is definitely the goal. I think everyone should set goals, and then the question will always come, I believe, when one starts to see the results. I still do it in my free time. I dedicate myself full time to understand, as you say, which other layers we want to take and how to make everything lasting.
And looking at this discussion here, how many hours do you commit per day only the publishing business? How many hours can you be managed with? What needs to be done? Not if you are passionate and want to spend 10 hours a day on the bestseller. Because these are things I have done too, but it is not necessary.
So let's say it depends on how his basic books are doing and therefore the goal he has. But basically, assuming you have created a base of books that, in my opinion, make at least more or less 5,000 net per month, you almost need, I don't know, half a day, 4 hours every 2 weeks, maybe, in my opinion.
So 4 hours every 2 weeks.
In my opinion, yes.
Someone who is coming thought 4 hours a day. That is, they came here 4 hours every 2 weeks. So we can say 2 hours a week.
In my opinion, yes, but it depends on how many books one has and what stage they are at. However, if someone has everything fairly well established, it's not the first month they are making these figures. I'm talking about a person who is a historian, not someone who started making $500 a month and the next month makes 5,000. You might not start off like that right away because you need to stabilize it. But when everything is set up, yes, put those. Maybe I'm being too extreme right now in the sense that I don't touch the has much, but even if you do precise overtime, at worst, it's 4 hours a week, which are still crumbs if you consider how much 4 hours weigh on a week.
4 hours in a week to maybe make 5K net. If you go to work part-time for 4 hours a week and after 6 weeks, you already make 50 euros net, that's something else. 4 hours a week. Let's say you earn 10 euros an hour net. And well, in Italy, we'll leave it at that. It would be 4 times 4, 160 euros a month. I mean, I'm not sure if we really realize it. Even now, when I think about it, I am still shocked. When I refresh the dashboard, I might see that I've made 1,500, 2,000, 3,000. One day, I even made 4,000, 5,000 in royalties in a single day. Anyway, it feels a bit strange because I say, I didn't do anything today. I did 4,000. Obviously, it's not passive. It's not like we do nothing and things just fall into place. No, it's not like that. There has been prior work, prior study. The work has stabilized, creating a reality that then operates in a semi-automatic manner. We could say,
yes. Well, the only thing to say is that the work, in my opinion, in my case, has been a lot for a long time. I think it takes time to achieve results starting from scratch. Then tell me about your experience as well. But in my opinion, to reach at least 5,000 net, it takes at least a year to understand everything well and set it up gradually. Then, if you are really guided through everything, maybe it takes you less time, but even there, as soon as the help disappears, you might drop a bit.
But look, Albi, I don't completely agree with you on this, in the sense that it depends. That is, we have students, for example, Marco De Leva, Domenico Del Cielo, Marco Speroni. These are young people who have been personally guided here, taken to their goal by us, from zero to the objective. Marco De Leo grew from 0 to 25 capanetti in 3 months. By the third month of publication, he had reached 25 capanetti. Obviously, those are crazy numbers. Let's take some more normal numbers, Domenico. In the second month of publication, 7 capanetti maintained for all the following 5 months. Obviously, being personally followed by me and the team by Giuseppe. Of course, this brings you another level of speed, for sure. But we can say, come on, in my opinion, it always depends on what information a person has. Because if they have generic information and wrong parameters, wrong things said out of interest, before you rack your brains and figure out how things really work, then yes, I agree with you. It takes a year. But if you have streamlined, clear, straightforward information without ulterior motives, you need to do this, a strategy, blueprint, precise business plan to follow. In my opinion, it also takes less time. Then, of course, it depends on the timelines that each individual person has.
Yes, based on their timing and history, did they already say if you need to attend other courses?
They came from other courses. If they already had, sure. And how long it takes, then again, time is relative. Because one can spend an hour, meaning work relatively, one can work for an hour and accomplish more than someone who spends 6 hours. It always depends on the other person. If I sit there, meanwhile, I respond to the message, smoke a cigarette, talk to my girlfriend, you never get out. You sit there, focus, 1 hour. Many things. The month I made 65K, maybe an hour a day, but maybe an hour a day because I had set up the work well. I used all management files to keep everything monitored, understand where to optimize both in terms of business and expenses. All the management files that I then gave to all the students in the course on downloads. I don't know if you use them, Albi. Have you seen them?
Yes, I have seen them. I already had my own things, so I was somewhat organized, but I definitely saw that for those who had never done it before, having a table to fill out is a great help as it provides an overview of the entire situation.
So let's say once the business is built, says Albi, 4 hours every 2 weeks, 2 hours a week. During the building phase, how much time would you recommend instead? If I start from scratch now, I already have the course. How many hours would you recommend?
Does starting from scratch mean that I have never taken any courses before?
Yes, start from scratch, study, share. And how many hours would you recommend per day?
I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating here, but I would say, at least 2 to 3 hours every day, in my opinion.
So what I think is that initially 2 or 3 hours are fine, especially because it's in the study phase.
But I work full-time every weekend, in my opinion.
In the end, publishing is a relatively simple business in terms of timing and work. Once you have done the keyword research, you practically have nothing left to do. I choose my keyword, I create the brief for the cover, I create the brief for the book. Someone else writes the book, another person designs the cover, and I just have to wait for the work to be delivered. So the phase where you shouldn't skimp is the study phase and truly understanding everything. After that, let's say that extensive work time isn't really necessary, right? Mainly for keyword research. Let's say the initial focus, in fact, and overall management were actually indeed somewhat necessary. So, Albi, would you recommend my path to whom? Would you recommend it?
Sure, I would absolutely recommend it, especially to those who have static results, meaning they don't see changes in their business or continue to see that they don't surpass at least the 5,000 per month barrier. In my opinion, it is definitely essential to have a different perspective from people who do it all day long and have a calculated approach to reach a goal.
All those people who come from different backgrounds, from other educational paths, but still struggle to achieve the results they want, to truly understand different dynamics, another perspective, to have the click that Albi had.
In my case, I advise these people because it was exactly my situation firsthand, where I couldn't find or understand what I was doing wrong that prevented me from achieving the results others had. What helped me a lot was having this very straightforward approach.
Just click to do this. Now we will see Albio. I like it because all the guys who do the interviews have the same graphic. So it means that it is not a coincidence, because if a person enrolls in a course in April and by June the business takes off, starting an upward trend, it means that they obviously understood different things, started applying different things, and achieved different results. So Albi, I wanted to ask if you could let us take a look. You know, I really value transparency because unfortunately I need to add a note here. I see too many unclear interviews. They talk about revenue, but they never talk about net income, nor about how much has been invested. And these things are always somewhat misleading in my opinion. So, in my opinion, it's right to actually show things as they are for the sake of transparency about what we've discussed. Let us take a look at your results and, of course, tell us how much you have spent.
Tell me if you see. So in the meantime, this is one of my accounts here.
My accounts to manage. Perfect.
Here it is. So for example, I think I took it in April, May. I don't remember when the course was. This is one of the various accounts, but from this one, I have already grown. So what was it? May 2005, I went up to 6,000. We were in August. Then I had some problems with some books here, but now I'm already climbing back up to 4,000.
But here we are talking about a single account.
This is just an account. Then I'll show you another one. This is another account. So we have until June, July. Wait, let me zoom in. So maybe here we are. Can you see? Yes. Until June, July. This is an image because it's on another PC, this account. But even here, they were around 1,500, give or take, as you can see, about a quarter of this bar. And then from here, I started publishing the entire list of books we had thought of. And here I went up to 20,000. And now I'm settling at around 10K, more or less, on this account, a little more. And that's it. Then I have the results. A little beyond 2 screenshots. I did this 2 days ago. It was this month on this account. Okay, again, let's see. And then, and here it was November, for example. This way, it doesn't show that I keep maintaining this account, at least to surpass the threshold of $10,000. Here too, you can see the previous one, 9,000, which I have already greatly surpassed today. So anyway, I am managing to keep at least 10,000 gross per month on this account. As for expenses, well, go ahead. Prefacing that, I have always been very frugal with spending. I have never used expensive freelance services or anything like that. More or less, this leap was due to 7 books, each paid for. I'm talking about writing, cover, formatting. About $230 in total per book. So let's say around $1,500 more or less.
So a $1,500 investment to practically reach 2K per month.
Then there would be, this is the writing. Then we add the reviews. We put 300 for the book to cover all the marketing. We add these other 1 to 800, making a total of 3,500.
3,500 to go from 2K to 20K, so 7 books. In fact, I wanted to ask you, Albi, because there you can see all 93 books, let's specify.
No, many have been unpublished.
When you unpublish or republish or someone puts it in draft, they look at all of them, but they are not the actual books.
The bulk of the work here will be done practically by the newly published books. Then maybe something was recovered thanks to, as we were saying, Azaro Satyavendi, but precisely this account was there. So absolutely.
And so for company expenses, can we count on 30% as you mentioned earlier?
Yes, yes, but especially on this account, maybe on the other one, a bit more, maybe 40. But yes, we are around there, between 30 and 40%.
So we are talking about a good net. Permission for Albi to move to Dubai. The net can't be missing in these cases. By the way, we almost missed each other because he went there just when I was actually out and we didn't cross paths. But surely now, after the Christmas holidays, we'll catch up. Go ahead, Albi. You can stop sharing. Okay, we did it. Really happy with these results. Thank you. An immense satisfaction. Then I am truly happy to have you within my community because you are really a contributive person. And these are the people I want inside. That is not just people who are there waiting for the solution, waiting for someone to take care of them, but rather people who bring value and engage in real discussions with other publishers. So, for example, we do the live stream on Monday. And I think that Albi has never missed a live stream, as far as I can remember.
I missed something. I had transfers.
Except for real issues. But Albi, what do you mean? We can say a show up raise of 95% or 98%. And obviously, it's always there, we discuss. But did this happen to you too? Yes, no, for me it's like this. But you. And so, obviously this helps all the people within my community grow. And this is what truly makes me happiest. So, I wanted to thank you for this. So, Albi. Another question I really wanted to ask you honestly, because I like to make people commit publicly, is about goals. So, what goals do you set for yourself? From here, with a deadline. And then I'll let you go, as I've already kept you as agreed.
So, but with a deadline, do I still have to do them? Because usually the ones I set for myself, I have achieved. So there were 5 bells, 10 bells, 20 bells that I heard added. There are the next ones, but I haven't set the deadline yet. Let's say now that it was the business. So I have obviously neglected it a bit due to the move to return to 20 small projects per month. I hope within the next 3 months. And then there's always the business aspect, let's say, to colonize as many niches as I can think of right now, which I don't want to mention just to avoid attracting competitors.
Good for you.
And to also start covering a part that is not included in the course, namely fiction books, because I would like to move towards having a goal that I have set for myself to write at least one fiction book that someone will then make into films or TV series. So a very ambitious goal that I will also have to seek guidance for. No, absolutely, always everything delegated. I really enjoy the entrepreneurial side. I wrote my own book that had my name on it, but it was really done, as you say, for the authority I had in a certain area. But now, for what I want to do, that was the goal. In this goal, for example, fiction currently, I don't know anyone who knows much about it. So maybe there will be the process again, like I did with you, of looking for someone and trying to launch this new challenge as well.
Once you have developed the skill, if you would like to share it with us, it will be greatly appreciated, and you will absolutely have the means to do so. So, Albi, I am very happy with your goals. I am sure you will achieve them. Then I was telling you, but how do you hope? I am sure you will achieve them.
It is my goal. I somehow always find it with the calculation we make of what that book can generate for me. I simply get there. Now I have to start doing the calculation I say I hope because I haven't calculated it yet. So let's say calculated Y. I like to calculate it, so maybe I can tell you that it's not in 3 months or 4, but once I said that I shoot home and make these books, each one makes me $500 a pop. And from there, you take the bricks to build the house.
Whether we want it or not, we'll get there. I don't know yet, but we'll get there, and then we'll do an update where you'll update us. We're always curious. But Albie, right? Those doubts that come before going to bed. But Albie in the end. So come on, then you will give us a big update. Albie, I thank you so much for your time, for everything you wanted to share with me, and with the people who follow us. I am sure that you will achieve your goals. We always keep ourselves updated. We meet every Monday, as always. Thank you for everything.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Hello, hello.